Hi friends, welcome back to my channel after nearly 1 year. पिछली वीडियो मैंने अक्टूबर 2023 में बनाई थी और ऑलमोस्ट 1 साल हो गया। ये वीडियो रेमंड लाइफस्टाइल पे है और रेमंड लाइफस्टाइल ऐसी कंपनी है मच लाइक मैनी अदर कंपनीज जहाँ पे कॉर्पोरेट गवर्नेंस इश्यूज जो हैं वो बैकग्राउंड में चले गए हैं बिकॉज द बिजनेस परफॉर्मेंस इन रीसेंट हिस्ट्री हैज़ इम्प्रूव्ड एंड उसके बारे में भी हम बात करेंगे कि इम्प्रूवमेंट कहाँ है कहाँ नहीं है एंड हाउ टू लुक एट दैट। बट ये आइडिया मुझे एक्चुअली ट्विटर नाउ एक्स पे मिला एंड पोस्ट दैट क्योंकि ईवी बाय एबिटा रेमंड लाइफस्टाइल का जो कि एक कंपनी है रेमंड लिमिटेड से निकल के आई है, इट हैज़ बिन स्पन ऑफ फ्रॉम रेमंड लिमिटेड। उसके बारे में भी हम बात करेंगे। बट पोस्ट में जनरली ऐसा कुछ था ऑनलाइन कि क्योंकि इसका ईवी बाय एबिटा जो कि एक मल्टीपल होता है जैसे प्राइस टू अर्निंग मल्टीपल है, क्योंकि वो 13.5 है उस समय आई थिंक 2 महीने पहले 1 महीने पहले, और क्योंकि और जो कंपेटिटर्स हैं और जो कंपनीज हैं इस फील्ड में उनका ईवी बाय एबिटा 30 है 40 है, देयर फॉर रेमंड लाइफस्टाइल इज लिमिटेड। बेसिकली दिस वॉज द इनिशियल थीसिस। नाउ ऑब्वियसली दिस अलोन इज़ नॉट कन्विंसिंग, तो उसी को करके मैं थोड़ा इंटरेस्टेड हुआ और मैंने रेमंड लाइफस्टाइल के मतलब एनालिसिस करने का बेसिकली और डीप जाने का मैंने कोशिश की है। उसके बाद इस पे मैंने एक डीप रिलेटिवली डीपर आर्टिकल भी लिखा है एंड इफ़ यू वुड लाइक मैं वो आर्टिकल जो है लिंक कर दूंगा इस वीडियो के नीचे, आप उसे देख सकते हैं। तो रेमंड लाइफस्टाइल की ये बैकग्राउंड स्टोरी है, राइट? एंड लाइक आई हैव मेंशन्ड हियर, इट इज़ फॉर मी द आइडिया स्टार्टेड एज अ डीमर्जर प्ले बिकॉज रेमंड लिमिटेड जो है, रेमंड लिमिटेड हैड रियल एस्टेट आर्म, इट नाउ इट हैड ऑटो एंसिलरी का बिजनेस, उसके अंदर टेक्सटाइल्स का बिजनेस था जो कि उसका कोर बिजनेस है। एंड होता प्रॉब्लम ये होती है कि क्योंकि डिफरेंट सेट्स ऑफ इन्वेस्टर्स होते हैं, मे बी एज एन इन्वेस्टर मुझे ऑटो एंसिलरी बिजनेस पसंद है। आई मीन इस केस में ऑब्वियसली दैट वाजंट द केस, बट लेट्स से आई लाइक वन पर्टिकुलर बिजनेस, आई डोंट लाइक द अदर्स, सो आई डोंट want to own all three because I want to own one, right? So उसको करके यूजुअली कंपनीज जो है डीमर्ज या फिर सेपरेट कर देती हैं अलग अलग बिजनेस यूनिट्स को। सो दैट इज़ वन रीज़न, वो एक इन्वेस्टर रीज़न हो गया। दूसरा रीज़न और रैशनल जो दिया जा मैनेजमेंट जो है एक ऑटो एंसिलरी की अलग होगी और वो कंप्लीट फोकस कर पाएंगी उस सेगमेंट पे, कोर टेक्सटाइल बिजनेस पे सेगमेंट पे अकेले फोकस पाएगी, एक सेपरेट मैनेजमेंट। तो ये रीजंस करके दिस इज द बेसिक फंडामेंटल रीजन व्हाई कंपनीज डीमर्ज और सेपरेट डिफरेंट बिजनेस यूनिट्स, राइट? द फंडामेंटल रीजन इज वैल्यू अनलॉकिंग, कि मार्केट में ज़्यादा वैल्यू मिलेगी एंड दैट इज़ द होल आइडिया। और रेमंड के पीछे भी यही आइडिया था, इनके जो डीमर्जर के पीछे द सेम आइडिया वाज देयर। ऑल्सो जस्ट डिस्क्लेमर, आई ओन द स्टॉक एंड आई वुड लाइक टू नाउ बिगिन। तीन तीन चार मिनट ऐसे ही निकल गए। सो इस कंपनी के एनालिसिस का सेंस तभी बनता है अगर आप फंडामेंटली ये बिलीव करते हैं कि कॉर्पोरेट गवर्नेंस इशू रेमंड लाइफस्टाइल की जो हिस्ट्री में थी वो आगे नहीं रहेगी वैसी, विच मीन्स दैट बिहेवियर ऑफ द प्रोमोटर इज गोइंग टू बी बेटर, दे विल बी मोर कॉन्शियस of minority shareholders' rights. They will not do any such thing that disadvantages the minority shareholder, right? अगर आप ये बिलीव करते हैं तभी रेस्ट ऑफ द एनालिसिस मेक सेंस। और ये बिलीव करना भी एक्चुअली इज़ अ वेरी बिग क्वेश्चन बिकॉज अगर आप इनकी रिसेंट हिस्ट्री देखें तो देर हैव बिन अ लॉट ऑफ इशूज़। 2015 में जयपत सिंघानिया जी ने अपना जो शेयर होल्डिंग है रेमंड लिमिटेड में अपने बेटे गौतम सिंघानिया जी के नाम पे शिफ्ट किया था और ट्रांसफ़र किया था, और उस ट्रांसफ़र को होते ही काफ़ी सारे इश्यूज पॉप अप होने लगे। पहली बात तो ये थी कि उन्होंने अकॉर्डिंग टू एन एग्रीमेंट, पास्ट एग्रीमेंट, देयर वाज एन एग्रीमेंट बिटवीन द कंपनी रेमंड लिमिटेड एंड द प्रोमोटर्स की एक पर्टिकुलर बंगलो है, जेके हाउस है मुंबई में, जो apparently is a very posh location, and the idea was that the company will sell, the promoter have the right to buy it from the company at a X amount. Now हुआ ये कि by the time 2015, 16, 17 came around, the value of that house or those bunch of houses or that building shot up drastically, and that was one reason I think Gautam Singhania, after stepping in, he said कि मैं नहीं बेच पाऊंगा. So there was a lot of feud between the father and the son, and because Gautam Singhania is a colorful individual, sorry about the crackers if you can hear them, because Gautam Singhania ji is a colorful individual, and because he drives very nice cars and all of that, and because of the narrative कि बेटे ने बाप ने बेटे को he transferred his own shareholding and now the son is doing this, so it makes for a very good story. Of course there's a lot of, at least from a shareholder, there were some things that went wrong, but because of this this bad media for the past 8-9 years, the perception of the promoter is not very good, right? And there is some truth behind the perception as well, right? But Raymond is a perfect example of Chor Bana More, because the stock has done very good, very well recently in the last 2-3 years, but then what hasn't, right? तो ये सब बैकग्राउंड के साथ अगर हम आगे चलें, एक और स्लाइड पे बात कर लेते हैं कि इश्यूज क्या रहे हैं. सो सेबी ने 2017 में एक इन्वेस्टिगेशन चालू की थी इनके अगेंस्ट, एंड द आइडिया वाज, पहली बात तो इन्होंने, अच्छा एक और प्रॉब्लम थी जहाँ पे रेमंड ने, कंपनी ने बेसिकली एक प्लक्षा करके या पक्षा करके, देयर वाज अ सब्सिडरी which where they had leased this property called JK House, and Plaksha P whatever company had then further leased it to the promoters, right? So 3-4 flats the bungalows the whatever they had further leased it, and the promoters were only paying I think 7,500 per month, whereas the company was paying nearly 8 lakh rupees to service the rent and just to take care of the promoter. Now this arrangement, there was no shareholder approval, and obviously that is a violation. That is a clear corporate governance issue. It's a massive corporate governance issue, because it means that company completely disregarded the minority shareholders. Now will that change in the future? Maybe promoters have become more conscious, and maybe they have found other ways to kind of make money. We will find out, but that is what has happened. There was another thing that where the company reclassified a gentleman called Ritvik Ruiya as, first he was classified as promoter, फिर उनका नाम हटा दिया गया था, that also without following due process, right? So that was another issue. The third issue was that जयपत सिंघानिया जी ने इन पे, गौतम सिंघानिया जो प्रोमोटर और सीईओ थे, उन पे केस किया था, जो कि डिक्लेयर नहीं किया गया, जो बताया नहीं गया कंपनी को. सो दैट वाज अनदर इशू. सो दीज आर जस्ट some of the issues. There were other issues also, some minor, some not so minor, and the history shows that the intention of the promoter or their attitude towards minority shareholders has not been great. Will that change? We will find out. It is a work in progress. It is a story that is unfolding. So that's how it is, right? They also have 22 subsidiaries. Even for pehle they had a lot of subsidiaries. The more subsidiaries you have, the more opportunities, and the more confusing it becomes for other shareholders, non-promoters, to kind of judge कि पैसा कहाँ से आ रहा है, जा रहा है, not, right? So that is another issue. And इन सब reasons की वजह से इनकी जो perception है, it is not great, and I mean rightly so. ये चीज़ ध्यान में रखते हुए जब मैं रिसर्च कर रहा था, तो मेरे दिमाग में चीज़ आई कि यार अगर कॉर्पोरेट गवर्नेंस इतना बुरा है तो स्टॉक शुड मोर और लेस बी फ्लैट. मतलब, बट व्हाट आई फाउंड वाज अ लिटिल सरप्राइजिंग, एट लीस्ट टू मी, which was that at least 2007 से 2021 there were 4 different instances where this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4 different instances where the stock either doubled or more than doubled. Now इस बात को शेयर करने का क्या मतलब है? पहली बात, it was interesting for me because in my head corporate governance was a very black and white issue. I thought कि अगर कोई promoter cheat कर रहा है या they are not shareholder friendly, then the stock will be in constant decline. Obviously that is not the case. This is one example, and there were periods where the stock has done very well. Of course that is on different small periods, different periods across the last 13 years. The problem with that analysis is you can't say कि क्योंकि उस time मतलब it would have been hard to say कि stock अब double होगा या नहीं, which is the case with investing all the time, right? So how do you perceive this? How do you use it? For me, it was more so removal of the mental block कि क्योंकि promoter issue है, stock will do nothing. That is not the case, right? For me, that was one of the lessons. Secondly, अगर आप नोटिस करेंगे ऑन अ लॉन्ग टर्म बेसिस दैट इज द ट्रूथ, क्योंकि 2007 से 2021 तक stock was flat, nothing happened. So it really depends on what strategy you follow. It depends on your mindset. Mindset, I mean, uh, what length of time you're willing to stay invested, all of those factors, right? So just bear that in mind. But nonetheless, मेरे लिए काफ़ी interesting था to kind of look back at the history of how the stock has behaved, right? And also the fifth instance where since 2021 the stock has done very, very well, right? So there's a lot of recency bias also attached to the company. Now let's go back to the special situation. Let's go back to what has happened since 2020 2021. Now अगर कोई ये कहता है कि यार ये तो स्पेशल सिचुएशन था और हमने पैसा कमा लिया, बिकॉज आज क्या है कि देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ नैरेटिव दैट स्पेशल सिचुएशंस इज द वे टू गो. आई थिंक देयर आर risks associated with special situations as well, and this is also an example of the risk associated with special situations. So for example, around November 2019 यहाँ से ही there have been plans कि there will be a demerger, right? For one reason or another, the demerger did not happen. Okay, it did not happen till 2024 abhi June July whatever. So that shows कि just because there's a special situation, it does not mean it is risk free. There are a lot of things that can happen. Things can get extended. And in fact, value picker पे मैंने किन्हीं का पोस्ट देखा था, उन्होंने 2016 में लिखा था कि this is undervalued. And I've asked him कि whether you were able to hold throughout this time. Chances are he didn't. But I haven't received a reply. But the point is that a lot of times it's very easy to look back, hindsight bias, कि ऐसा अगर हम कर लेते तो ऐसा हो जाता. Of course, even with special situations, although there are some structural tendencies, so to speak, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि हर एक special situation will turn out the way you want, right? There are delays, there are issues associated with that as well. So 2019 में आइडिया था कि हम डीमर्ज करेंगे कंपनी को, एंड द आइडिया वाज दैट द कोर लाइफस्टाइल बिजनेस लिस्ट होगा अलग से, ब्रांडेड टेक्सटाइल, ब्रांड अपैरल और गारमेंटिंग होगा, एंड द रेस्ट ऑफ द कंपनी विल हैव द रियल एस्टेट प्रोजेक्ट, लैंड बैंक जो है इनका, और B2B शर्टिंग बिजनेस, इनका ऑटो कंपोनेंट बिजनेस, एंड इनका FMCG बिजनेस. नाउ initially the plan wasn't to sell the FMCG business. It was sold for 2,850 crores, and that really helped the company pay down its debts, right? The whole trigger was somewhere post the lockdown, things started to kind of work well in their favor. I think one of the big reasons was that it was a wake-up call. They had high debt, they had to do something, and so they started cutting costs and all that. So that was one factor. And again, this is the structure of the demerger कि कौन सी कंपनी कौन सा सेगमेंट कैसे डिवाइड होगा, so that was the whole idea. If you go further, एक second. Okay, yeah. So deleveraging हुई because of this sale of this business. So this sale 2,800 का जो इनको cash flow आया, that was a big help in actually reducing the debt, and apparently according to the company they are 1,500 crores surplus cash. They're sitting on 1,500 crores of surplus cash, right? So 8th May ko this transaction was closed, and so that's where we are. So it's a very recent phenomena, even though 2019 में restructuring की बातें शुरू हो गई थी because of the lockdown, because of XYZ. The actual special situation, restructuring quote unquote, didn't really happen until 2023. Meanwhile, the real estate business had started doing well, and because people were expecting, I think the stock also performed fairly well, right? Next. Okay, so what happened post lockdown? Lockdown के बाद ये देखा गया है कि there was a big improvement in performance, partly because of the lockdown pressure, partly because of the desire to pay down the debt. all of that combined. And also a lot of people are looking at 31% growth as this is a company slide. तो उन्होंने बताया कैसे 31% revenue growth हुई है यहाँ पे 22 से 23 तक, कैसे एबिटा ग्रो हुआ है, कैसे मार्जिन एबिटा मार्जिन हैव इम्प्रूव, कैसे ऑपरेशनल ROC, बाय द वे दिस इज़ अ नॉन गैप मेजर, तो दिस इज़ कंपनी कैलकुलेटेड ROC. So operational ROC means capital employed excluding CNCE, EBIT excluding related income. So anyway, the point is कि 2021 से there was a lot of improvement, but you have to realize that अगर आप 2020 प्री कोविड से अगर देखो तो ग्रोथ ना के बराबर है, कुछ भी नहीं हुआ है. सो सेल्स रियली हैजंट गॉन अप. व्हाट हैज गॉन अप even compared to 2020 is the EBIT margins, right? EBITDA margin, sorry. And because of that, the profitability has massively improved. Now the question remains, will this continue in the future or not? What were the factors? किन reasons की वजह से ये EBITDA margin improve हुआ है? क्या वो reasons continue रहेंगे? वो हमें देखना होगा, right? Okay, so this was the basic structure, just to give you a summary again, कि इस तरीके से फाइनली जो डीमर्जर हुआ वो इस फॉर्मेट में हुआ है, जहाँ पे रेमंड लाइफस्टाइल बेसिकली हैज़ ऑल द कोर टेक्सटाइल बिजनेस, ब्रांडेड टेक्सटाइल, ब्रांड अपैरल, गारमेंटिंग. ये क्या है, इनका क्या मतलब है, विल डिस्कस. एंड द एग्जिस्टिंग रेमंड हैज़ द रियल एस्टेट कंपनी अलॉन्ग विद द इंजीनियरिंग कंपनी, right? Engineering, and they have a denim JV as well, right? So this still remains a part of Raymond Limited, whereas this is the company, Raymond Lifestyle is what we are discussing, right? Demerger का जो फंडा है उसकी वजह से क्या होता है in terms of the stock and how the stock behaves. One of the reasons we must realize is that at the time of the demerger, Raymond Limited की जो shareholding थी around 22.97% was were institutional shareholders. Now what happens is because of the demerger, एक बड़ी कंपनी में से एक छोटी कंपनी डीमर्ज होकर निकलती है, at least at the time. And obviously over time that smaller company or one unit can become larger than the original, whatever. That's not the point. The point is that business is separated. Sometimes that business is smaller, one of them is smaller, one of them is bigger. And because of those reasons, certain funds or certain types of institutional investors, उनके साइज का जो साइज का मैंडेट होता है. सो एवरी फंड इन्वेस्ट अकॉर्डिंग टू अ सर्टन साइज. समटाइम्स दैट साइज, हैप्पी दिवाली. तो sometimes because of that size feature, what happens is those funds exit these companies because they don't meet their requirements in terms of the size, right? So size can be one reason. It could be that the segment, the new segment textile, it's not considered a very attractive segment. So maybe some funds might want to exit. Then there is a third type of fund, which is the Nifty 250 or Nifty index funds, right? Nifty 250 index funds. And these guys, what they do is they don't make a judgment call कि मैं इस company में invest करूँगा उसमें. They just follow they do what index funds do. They invest in the weightage that the company has in that particular index, regardless of what happens in the business. और उसकी वजह से होता क्या है कि demerger की बाद what has happened is that अगर हम देखें, red is basically all the funds that have exited, just to give you an idea of what these color schemes mean. Blue is the new funds that have entered. Green is the funds that were there earlier and have increased their shareholdings, and yellow has remained the same, right? So you will notice that all of the funds that have exited, Nifty 500 index, Nifty small cap 50 index, Nifty small cap 250 index, Nifty 2, blah, 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 blah. So all of these index funds have exited the company regardless of what the company is. As long as it is now not a part of the 250 small cap index, they will exit regardless, right? These funds, UTI, large cap, aggressive and all that, they've actually increased their shareholding. So UTI, it looks like UTI has been increasing their share, and Baroda, BNP Paribas, they have increased their share, right? Now, my point is not to show you कि ये बड़े investors invest कर रहे हैं and all that. That is not the point. The larger point जो मैं बताना चाह रहा हूँ वो ये है कि index funds ने indiscriminately इस stock को बेचा है. राइट उसके कॉन्सिक्वेंस क्या है फ्रॉम अ फंड फ्लो एग्जाम एंगल इज दैट व्हेन देर इज सो मच सप्लाई the chances are, and usually this is what happens in demergers, is that the chances are that the stock goes down because, like I said, some of the big institutional investors are exiting for their own reasons. Those reasons are not necessarily related to the business. They can also be related to the business, but not necessarily, right? In this case, it doesn't seem to be the case, right? तो इस रीजन की वजह से यहाँ पे फंड्स ने एग्जिट किया है. अब निफ्टी स्मॉल कैप 50 का एक और फंडा है जो हमें पता होना चाहिए. आई जस्ट मूव दिस. इज दैट 2 बार साल में निफ्टी 250 इंडेक्स जो है वो रीबैलेंस होता है. एक बार जनवरी 31 को और एक बार जुलाई 31 को, राइट? सो उन डेट्स पे जो भी कंपनीज 250 निफ्टी 250 कंपनीज का जो क्वालिफिकेशन क्राइटेरिया है उन्हें मीट करती हैं, दे आर इंक्लूडेड इन द इंडेक्स. और जो कंपनी इंडेक्स में इंक्लूड होती है, देयरफॉर जो भी इंडेक्स फंड्स होंगे दे विल हैव टू काइंड ऑफ एलोकेट टू देम. इंटरेस्टिंग पार्ट इज दैट जो रेमंड लाइफस्टाइल है, डीमर्ज्ड एंटिटी है, इट वाज डीमर्ज्ड on September. It was listed in September, it was demerged in July, something like that, जब अप्रूवल आया था. बट इसका मतलब ये है कि एज ऑन द डेट ऑफ रीबैलेंसिंग रेमंड लाइफस्टाइल वॉज नॉट अ पार्ट ऑफ द निफ्टी 250 इंडेक्स. इसका मतलब जब जनवरी में 31 को 2025 में कुछ महीनों में जब फिर से इंडेक्स रीबैलेंस होगा, it is very likely that Raymond Lifestyle will become a part of the Nifty Small Cap 50 Index again. The reason for that is that if you look at the size of Nifty 250 Small Cap 250 Index, 200 last 25 जो companies हैं, they are around 9,000 करोड़ से लेकर 5,000 करोड़ तक. RLL रेमंड लाइफस्टाइल की जो करंट मार्केट कैप है वो करीब करीब 13,500 करोड़ है. नाउ ऑब्वियसली बाय दैट डेट थिंग्स कैन हैपन, दैट स्टॉक कैन गो डाउन, अदर स्टॉक्स कैन गो डाउन, दे कैन गो अप, व्हाटएवर. सो दिस इज अ मूविंग काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो, बट चांसेस ऐसे लगते हैं कि शायद से वेरी लाइकली ऐसा लगता है कि रेमंड लाइफस्टाइल विल qualify for the Nifty Small Cap Index. Now उसके क्या implications होते हैं? It's very likely that there will be demand for the stock. Maybe that can result in the stock going up, but personally I do not, or I would not like to rely solely on that, because that is not how I try to think about my investments. So therefore, but however, ये एक एंगल है, ये पता होना चाहिए. इट्स एन इंटरेस्टिंग एंगल, सो आई एम जस्ट गिविंग यू अ हेड्स अप फॉर दैट. सो दैट वाज द फंड्स फ्लो एंगल, सो टू स्पीक, राइट? नाउ लेट्स एक्चुअली गेट टू द वैल्यूएशन, बिकॉज फंडामेंटली मुझे कुछ बिजनेस में कुछ दिखना चाहिए. देयर शुड बी अ रीजन for me to invest in the business. क्या कुछ होने वाला है? Will the improvement that we have seen since FY21, will that continue? Will EBITDA margins improve or remain at the same level? What is happening in the business? That needs to give me comfort. But even more importantly, if there is a valuation comfort, a lot of times that is the only thing that is in my hands, right? As an investor. So now let me come to the valuation part. As we can see, this is one of the graphics that I have taken from an article on smartkarma.com. It is behind the paywall, it's a paid website, and this is given or written by Beat the Street. So they have a YouTube channel, they do some good work. Beat the Street, you can check out their YouTube, etc. And the credit fully goes to them for this. And they have said that because Raymond Lifestyle का EV by EBITDA 13.5 है, and because Trend का, Page का 98 है, 52 है, 44 है, Vedant का, therefore it is undervalued. Now, this is relative valuation. I have some questions regarding that. पहली बात तो ये है कि you should not take this on face value, because can you really compare Trent and Page with Raymond Lifestyle? Maybe not. So some of these players are really exceptional, so it would not be fair to compare them. Nonetheless, even if the upper end would be, and secondly, the business model of these companies is different, right? Now Raymond happens to be kind of throughout the value chain. They also make the yarn, they also make the fabric, they also make the garments, They also do the stitching. They also do the retailing part. So they are more or less present in the entire value chain. What happens because of that is there's a lot of capital. There's a lot more capital required for Raymond to run their business. The advantage is that theoretically EBITDA margins should be less fluctuating. They should be more stable. Now, will that happen? We will see. But that is the difference between Raymond as it is and some of these other players, for example, Trend, right? For example, Page Industries, all this. And also, they also operate in different segments. So, for example, Gokuldas is more of a garmenting player, right? Where they kind of export mostly. Go Fashions is, mostly retailing, from what I understand. So, they have slightly different business models, and therefore, just saying that because it's 13.5, it is undervalued, it is not very convincing, at least for me. However, this was a good starting point, right? Secondly, what I did was, okay, let me try and look at some different, let me just make this smaller. Let me look at some different ratios as well. And I said, okay, let's look at price to book value. Price to book value, mein Raymond Lifestyle is at the bottom. Now you would say, okay, does that mean that the company is undervalued? I would say even that does not necessarily mean it is undervalued, because like we said, Raymond has a lot more fixed assets, and therefore its book value is likely to be much higher for the same amount of sales. That we can check by looking at the asset turnover ratio. And Raymond, therefore, just because of the optical number to say it would be difficult, right? But still, and also Raymond has a lot of goodwill on its balance sheet. So goodwill will inflate the asset side, and therefore the book value, and therefore the ratio price to book value appears to be especially depressed, right? So there are considerations to that, but optically it seems that it is on the lower end. Okay, so even that alone is not very convincing. Then I tried a third way, which is a bit of a lazy way. A lot of people will have problem with this, that you simply cannot assume that it will go to perpetuity. But the idea here is that if, say, we have a cash flow of, or EBITDA, I'm using them interchangeably, it is not necessarily the case. But let's say EBITDA is 650 crores for Raymond Lifestyle. And if I use a discount rate of 6.95, which is the 10-year government yield. अब काफ़ी लोग बोलते हैं कि यहाँ पे 10-year government yield नहीं लेनी चाहिए, आपको अपना cost of equity लेना चाहिए, which can be, your expected return. So, whether that's 15 or not. If it's 15, the value will be far lower than this. So some people say that is the case. I have simply taken this as a 10-year government bond yield for simplicity's sake. And with that, the value comes out to 9,500 crores. Okay. Now, if you use all these different metrics, and by the way, the current value is 13,500 crores, you can also see what I was trying to say earlier. Because of the indiscriminate selling, the stock is down, right? From what, 2,800 to now it's around 2,100, 2,200, right? Market cap is 13,500 crore. So the question for us right now is, at these current valuations, is Raymond Lifestyle undervalued? मेरे लिए वो decisively कहना बहुत मुश्किल होगा for a particular number. However, by doing some of these exercises in terms of valuations, very rough estimates, we have got some sort of range. And the range is somewhere around, according to us, 9,500 crores, all the way up to, there is an upper end also, right? And this is what we'll discuss. Ki on the upper end, what can be the valuation band, right? तो उसके लिए क्या है कि हमें, we can't just do a, slap a multiple and kind of get a sense of the valuation. For that, what we have done is we've tried to do a sum of the parts valuations, and we've tried to kind of look at each segment. We've assigned multiples to each segment, EV by EBITDA multiple, and then try to come and reach some sort of valuation, right? इसके 4 segments हैं, इनको पहले समझ लेते हैं. Branded textiles, branded apparel, garmenting, blah, blah, blah. What does that mean? Let's kind of get into that. Also, just to give you an overview, FY24 में Total sales for these four segments were around 6,700 crores, and the EBITDA margin was roughly around 16.3%, जहाँ पे branded textile was 3,500 crore, brand apparel 1,500 crore, garmenting 1,000, cotton shirt 650, and their EBITDA margins are also varying. We can see that this branded textile happens to be the most profitable segment. My question in terms of analysis, because I have to put my money in my head, my question is ki, are these EBITDA margins sustainable, right? Which we will also try and understand. Because if these are not sustainable, if it is simply a factor of last 2-3 years for one reason or another, then the story is not as exciting, because even that EV by EBITDA was based, that calculation is based on 1,093 crores of EBITDA. Now, if the EBITDA margin going forward is not the same, then that EV by EBITDA जो multiple जो हमको 13.5 दिख रहा है, वो भी शायद से higher हो, right? So these are some of the considerations to bear in mind. The whole idea is, क्या मेरे को margin of safety मिल रहा है today when I try to invest, or because have I got a margin of safety when I invest in Raymond Lifestyle today, right? The whole idea of the video is trying to figure that out, to put it simply in the 30-second minute, if you are still watching. So let's look at each of these segments. Again, from FY21, you can see, okay, this is a very impressive last 2-3 years. You'll say, oh my God, the revenue has doubled. But if you look at from FY20, it hasn't really gone up. It is around 5.6% thereabouts, right? So it's very, very negligible revenue growth, not impressive at all. EBITDA margins, however, have improved. The question remains, is this sustainable? Okay, so this is the question. A product mix mein suits, Raymond ke suits are very popular. I will most likely be getting a Raymond suit done to get on the ground experience of what it's like. There are made to measure, where they measure, and they're made to measure, and shirting consists of 20%. Channel mixes, MBOs, multiple brand outlets, wholesale, the Raymond store, 26% comes from that. To be very honest with you, I do not place a lot of importance, and I also do not respect these numbers too much, because these numbers have been taken from the presentation, not from a statutory filing. A company that can, a company that can lie to its shareholders, I am not very trustworthy. They can lie even in their statutory, in their official documents, or if they're not following due procedure, in terms of getting the necessary approvals, I will not trust their presentation a lot. So in terms of trust, from where these numbers are, the trust would be around 6 on 10, right? Now let's look at the branded apparel. Branded apparel is basically, they have these bunch of brands, Color Plus, Park Avenue. These are brands that I don't have personal experience with, but these are known brands. Parks, and so this is what comprises of this segment. Now you can see that actually FY20 basis, the sales have actually gone down, so this is not impressive at all. These are the different mix. The impressive part is that 1.8 से 11% EBITDA margin has grown up. Now the question is कि अगर अब EBITDA margin इतना एकदम से such a dramatic change, why were they not focusing on it earlier? And again, the question remains कि अब 11.9% आ गया है, तो क्या will it continue? That is another question, right? Garmenting में they actually, in one simple way to put it is, they make clothes for other brands and then kind of export. This is where that happens. Again, the revenue growth has not been that impressive. All of the improvement has come again from EBITDA margin. So the defining factor actually in this story is not necessarily revenue. It is what is going to happen to the margins, and are they sustainable? Okay, so what are some of the reasons why EBITDA margin has kind of improved, and what are some of the things that they have done? First of all, working capital has come down, so that has released capital. that helps. Secondly, stringent collection and inventory management. Again, that is part of working capital. Collection down 52 days from 70 days. Another thing is number of stores. 1638 FY20 में, 1351 in FY22, and they have increased again FY24. Also going forward, the company plans to, I recently read an article कि 900 स्टोर्स हम खोलेंगे अगले 3 साल में. अब ये अगर 900 स्टोर्स खोलते हैं, नाउ दे आर सेइंग इट विल बी ऑन एसेट लाइट मॉडल. ठीक है, इसका मतलब कि खुद का कैपिटल ज़्यादा नहीं डलेगा. इफ़ दैट स्ट्रैटेजी इज सक्सेसफुल, I mean, that can be great. If it's not successful, that's another story, because if you're opening 900 stores using your own capital, I mean, there is no way the margins are not going to get hit. The third one is that they said in FY22 they have done 453 crores of cost savings. I mean, again, it raises the question that what were you doing prior to that? And, will it continue going forward? Nonetheless, all these factors kind of look good, and they are positive, they are welcome. Whether they will continue or not, that remains a key risk. Now, what we have done is we have kind of brought all of that together, and like we said, what we'll do is we'll value it based on these segments. Now, this idea of dividing not according to what Raymond declares, but according to wedding and not wedding. So, branded textiles और ब्रांडेड अपैरल जो रेमंड ने डिक्लेयर किया है, ब्रांड अपैरल दिस सेगमेंट, एंड ब्रांडेड टेक्सटाइल जहाँ पे सूट्स एंड ऑल दैट है, एंड दिस इज दीज ब्रांड्स, राइट. कलर प्लस, पार्क एवेन्यू, ऑल ऑफ दैट. इस सेगमेंट को अगर हम ऐसे ना दे के एक अलग तरीके से ब्रेक डाउन करें in the form of what is for the wedding segment and what is the non-wedding branded apparel. So this is the approach that we have taken. The credit goes to Ventura Securities. They have a report on this, and this is where a lot of the idea of how to segment it and the numbers, the revenue for each segment, I have taken from Ventura Securities. However, the way we have gone about and the way Ventura Securities has gone about valuing or doing this sum of the parts valuations is, very, very different. And I'll explain how. So, पहला है कि इतना रेवेन्यू है, इसका इतना एबिटा मार्जिन है, इसका एबिटा बनता है. So पहले we'll take a total of all the I mean not necessarily actually, total की ज़रूरत नहीं है. Non-branded apparel में, non-wedding branded apparel की जो रेवेन्यू है वो 2500 करोड़ है, एबिटा मार्जिन इस सेगमेंट में 1300 करोड़ है. देयरफॉर योर एबिटा इज दिस. देन व्हाट वी हैव डन इज फॉर ऑल दीज 4 सेगमेंट्स वी हैव टेकन अ बेंचमार्क कि क्या एक बेंचमार्क कंपनी है जो उस सेगमेंट में दे आर वन ऑफ द टॉप प्लेयर्स. सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल we have taken Vedant Fashion, which is comparable. I mean, not necessarily comparable, but this is one of the better players in the segment. उनका current EV by EBITDA multiple 45 है. Then non-wedding branded apparel में आदित्य बिरला है, उनका current EV by EBITDA multiple 24 है. फिर अरविंद है, गारमेंटिंग में उनका 12.5 है, और गोकुल दास है हाई वैल्यू कॉटन शर्टिंग में उनका 22 है. So this is the EV by EBITDA multiple these players are trading at. What we are doing is we are taking a significant discount to those multiples and finding out what the value for each segment is, and then we are going to total it. So we have taken 25, 45 से 25, huge discount. We have 24 से 12, huge discount, 50% discount. From 12.5 to 6, again 50% discount, and 11 again 50% discount. So huge discounts on the top players. So we are not at all saying that Raymond Lifestyle in the current format is comparable to any of these players. Happy Diwali again. Maybe you're hearing a lot of the noise, so please excuse that. If we multiply with this multiple, ये multiple हो गया और ये हमारा EBITDA हो गया FY24 में, FY24 I mean, we get these value 12,000 crore for this segment, 3,000 crore, 6,000 blah blah blah. And the total, okay, sorry, this is an error. This should have been here. So the total value that comes is 17,682 crore. Obviously, we are not interested in the precise amount we are interested in a ballpark figure. If we now look at the range of valuation we have got, we can start off from say 9,000, right? 9,500. The current valuation is 13,500. We have a valuation based on this method, some of the parts, we have 17,000, right? Just ballpark. So it seems that somewhere in this range, if this is a massive range, right? If the valuation is somewhere in the range, we are somewhere in the middle. To say that Raymond Lifestyle is undervalued, for me, it is becoming a little harder, because just on the basis of valuation alone, it wouldn't make sense how undervalued it is, right? So I kind of think it is close to slight undervaluation to fair valuation. It is not, there is, I mean, the margin of safety, at least for me, based on the current understanding I have as on this date, 30th October, this is my understanding. Although in my article I have written that it is undervalued, but I have changed my view. I do not believe it is significantly undervalued. It is there somewhere on the spectrum. Now, if this valuation were to come down to 9,000 crores or 8,000 crores, in my opinion, that would be considered undervaluation. So, but this is purely on the basis of what has happened so far. We are completely negating some of the big changes that the company is undergoing, right? So for example, there is a lot of optionality that has been completely negated from the valuation exercise that we have done, the valuation estimates, I would say, that we have done. First is they have introduced an innerwear and sleepwear segment. Apparently the initial tests seem to be that this segment, ये segment थोड़ा सा अच्छा कर रहा है, so we'll see how that goes. Then the current valuation again is based on a trailing multiple. Unlike the Ventura Securities की report जहाँ पे उन्होंने FY27 के multiples ले रखे हैं, we have not used forward multiples because I have no confidence that the company will grow as they are saying they will grow. If they grow, great. From the vantage point of if they grow, if these things play out, from that vantage point, the company could be undervalued. But given that we know what we know today, like I said, मुझे नहीं लगता कि बहुत ज़्यादा undervaluation है. Maybe a slight undervaluation to fair valuation. The margin of safety, if it was a lot more, it would be more comfortable, at least for somebody like me. Also, the management is guiding for 12 to 15% growth. क्या ये growth आएगी क्या नहीं आएगी मुझे नहीं पता. We'll find out. Again, it's just been 1 month since they have listed. Even their numbers are not out. We don't know what they're thinking, all of that. So there's a lot to be figured out in this story, right? Hence why, like I said, I have a small holding. It is around 2%. So it is not massive. It reflects my, somewhat cautious optimism on the company, but I'm also very skeptical, right? So please bear that in mind. One of the big factors that is a part of this story is the change in management. If you look at the management, almost the entire senior management, the key management professionals have come in FY22 ke baad, right? There are only 2 people that are on the management team from FY14 and FY18. Other than that, the entire team is new, right? So I think a new management, a well incentivized management, if they are given the right tools and freedom to pursue growth, and now without the overhang of a debt, because a company that has no debt has more strategic options to pursue growth, they have more flexibility. If all of those factors combine, and if the promoters do not do anything shady, and by the way, there is something happening that could again be a bit of a problem, but if all of these things play out, then from that vantage point, the company is can be very attractive, right? The problem, like I said, is there is another battle brewing now. The promoter Gautam Singhania, he's separating with his wife, and the wife, the lady, has requested, or not requested, has demanded 75% of his net worth. I mean, I don't know if those are negotiation tactics. I'm not an expert in that area, but it's just not a good look, to kind of partner with people who are just having issues within their family, left, right, center, who have not treated shareholders very well in the past. It's You'd think twice partnering with that people. Nonetheless, like I said, there are some interesting things that are happening in the company. So for me, it's a wait and watch, and it's an interesting story. Let's see how that plays out. Whether the question remains whether the corporate governance issues of the last 3-4 years, where people have started to believe that corporate governance has improved, whether this will hold 2-3 years down the line, or we will be reminded of the lesson that corporate governance matters more than anything else. Promoter quality, promoter intention matters more than anything else. So these are the open-ended questions, and let's find out. Hope this was useful. I know this is a very, very long video, but hope this was useful. And yeah, thanks for watching. And if you're still watching, तो आप तो सब्सक्राइब कर ही लो तो अच्छा होगा. Thank you.